What if I told you that one of the most powerful men in elite society had no clear explanation for how he became rich, yet everyone trusted him? Before the crimes, before the investigations, there was a rise that almost no one questioned. According to multiple investigative reports and public records, Jeffrey Epstein began his rise in elite circles during the late 1970s and 1980s. Epstein presented himself as a wealthy financier, despite limited publicly verified details about how his fortune was originally made. Reports suggest he worked briefly as a teacher before transitioning into financial advisory roles for ultra-wealthy individuals. By the 1990s, Epstein had established himself as a powerful social figure with access to politicians, academics, celebrities, and business leaders. Court documents and media investigations indicate that his influence was amplified through strategic relationships and philanthropy, including donations to universities and scientific research programs. Epstein owned multiple high-value properties, including residences in New York, Florida, New Mexico, Paris, and a private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. According to financial and legal filings, these locations later became relevant to investigations. At this stage, no criminal charges were publicly known. Epstein was largely viewed as a mysterious but respected figure. However, journalists have since noted that his lifestyle and access raised questions that went largely unchallenged at the time. This part is important because it establishes how power, wealth, and social access can create environments where scrutiny is minimal. According to experts, understanding Epstein's rise helps explain why later allegations were initially overlooked or dismissed. In 2005, police believed they had enough evidence to charge Jeffrey Epstein with serious crimes. So why didn't it happen? This is where the system was tested. And according to reports, it failed. The first major criminal investigation into Jeffrey Epstein began in 2005 in Palm Beach, Florida. Local authorities received complaints alleging inappropriate conduct involving underage girls at Epstein's residence. Police interviews and sworn statements indicated that multiple minors described similar patterns of behavior. These accounts were documented in official investigative files. According to the Palm Beach Police Department, detectives believed the evidence supported serious criminal charges. However, when the case moved beyond local law enforcement, it entered a complex legal phase. According to court records, federal prosecutors reviewed the case but did not immediately pursue federal charges. In 2008, Epstein entered a controversial plea agreement. According to legal documents, he pleaded guilty to state-level charges involving solicitation of a minor. The agreement allowed him to serve a limited sentence with work release privileges. This plea deal later became a major point of public and legal scrutiny. Investigative journalists and legal experts questioned why the charges were reduced despite extensive evidence. Years later, official reviews described the handling of the case as deeply flawed. This part highlights how legal decisions, not just evidence, can shape outcomes, a key lesson in understanding justice systems. Flight logs, contact books, powerful names, but what do these documents really prove? Being connected doesn't mean being guilty, but it does raise questions the world couldn't ignore. Epstein's case gained renewed attention because of his extensive network of high-profile associations. Flight logs, contact books, and photographs, later made public through court filings, showed connections to powerful individuals. It is important to note that association does not equal guilt. Many names appeared in records without allegations of wrongdoing. However, these documents raised public questions about accountability and transparency. Journalists emphasized that Epstein's ability to maintain influence after his 2008 conviction was unusual. According to reports, he continued to travel, host guests, and participate in elite social circles. Victims' advocates argued that this demonstrated systemic failure. Public pressure increased as civil lawsuits brought new documents into the public domain. This phase transformed the Epstein case from a local criminal matter into a global conversation about power, privilege, and justice. In 2019, the case finally reached federal court, and then suddenly it ended. No trial, no verdict, just unanswered questions that changed everything. In July 2019, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, Jeffrey Epstein was arrested on federal charges related to sex trafficking of minors. Prosecutors stated that the charges were based on new evidence and witness testimony. This arrest marked a turning point. Epstein was denied bail, with courts citing flight risk and severity of charges. Public interest surged worldwide, and major media outlets covered developments daily. Less than a month later, Epstein was found dead in his jail cell. Authorities ruled the death a suicide, according to official findings. However, the circumstances sparked intense public debate and independent investigations. Regardless of speculation, the legal outcome meant Epstein would never face trial. For many victims, this represented a profound lack of closure. Jeffrey Epstein never faced trial, but his case exposed something even bigger. This isn't just about one man. It's about what happens when power meets silence. The Epstein case led to increased scrutiny of plea deals, prosecutorial accountability, and victims' rights. The U.S. Department of Justice later acknowledged failures in how victims were treated during earlier proceedings. Civil lawsuits continue to shape public understanding through released documents and settlements. These cases focus on compensation, accountability, and institutional responsibility rather than criminal guilt. Educationally, the Epstein case is now studied as an example of how power can distort justice systems. Universities, media organizations, and legal institutions have cited it in discussions on ethics and reform. The key lesson, according to experts, is clear. Transparency, oversight, and respect for victims are essential to prevent future failures.